Very excited to talk to you. This is a lot of fun. I love anything that kind of gives me that horror in the wilderness and horror of just in any time, any place too. To begin with, the look of this film is singular in its own way. Whenever we kind of go to wilderness spots or hidden in the wilderness kind of things, we kind of lose ourselves in time as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your idea was as you kind of set the tone and the placement of this film?
Sure. So Dolly was strangely originally motivated by how do we make a film that we can afford to make. So very little money, very little time, largely set in the woods where we don't need lights during the day. And I think creativity for me has always been this thing that provides these incredible guardrails, right? It's like give yourself constraints and parameters and then just create inside of those. And so again, the original goal was to be able to write and then make something that we could have authorship and ownership over and be a flag that we could wave proudly that was the start of something much bigger, like the contained shotgun blast way into a larger franchise. But yeah, the film is, it's started for practical reasons where it does.
Right. Well, I mean, there is a lot, like you said, the Alice in Wonderland, but it's got like I mean, even with dolls, automatically, you kind of start with, I guess the best word is like a patina. There's a patina to how the world you have to create when you start with dolls and that kind of porcelain look. I mean, Return to Oz kind of feels of things too. So, tell me a little bit about you're creating your Dolly and how you want it to be seen.
Yeah, so well, I mean, the truth is that living in Tennessee, people talk about Dolly. When they talk about Dolly, they talk about Dolly Parton. And I was like, what could we do? Like, could we have our own Dolly for President bumper sticker? And I love Dolly Parton, and my kids love Dolly Parton. And who doesn't? Dolly Parton's an
Oh
American
no, she's
treasure.
amazing. Yes.
She's like the best. And I joke. It's not not trying to steal Dolly's thunder in Tennessee, but Dolly, the movie wasn't originally called Dolly, and it was called Baby Girl. And then Nicole Kidman had to make an A24 film that took our title. No, it didn't take our title. Like,
How dare
it,
she sexualize that?
well, I know, like, we were going to get buried in SEO results, so we just like, we realized that Dolly was a much better title anyway. It's interesting because we made a short film years ago. Well, sorry, it was a proof of concept back in 2021 that was called Baby Girl, and it's still on the internet. It was, us trying to figure out a way into this. And even then, there was, an approximation of Dolly the character. It was basically what three of us could make on my friend's property and outside of Nashville with, again, it's not what Dolly is, but it was like we're trying things out, trying to figure out a way into this. But Dolly as a character in this mask and this patina and the dolls and the dollhouse and Dolly's mother and everything that's like a part of this, that's inside of the heart of the story exists for a reason. And there are these breadcrumbs that we've tried to leave, or not tried, we have left throughout the film that speak to that and where all of this comes from. And always with the goal of, again, starting this like simple and narrow focused way into then exploring what all those things are as the film franchise goes forward.
Can you talk a little bit about casting this film? Of course, you have your heroine, but you also have Sean William Scott, you have Ethan, even the Impaler. Kind of tell us a little bit about finding the right people for the right places.
So I'm like Sean William Scott is a friend that well, we became friends a bunch of years ago. Ethan is now my friend. This is our second movie together. Fabian is an actor who we knew of through another actor, Scoot McNairy, who I'd made my last movie with. He's friends with Fabian, they've known each other a long time. And really, when we're trying to make movies, we just figure out who you want to go be in the suck with. Like, who do you want by your side when the going gets tough? Because it is going to be hard. And just wanting to be surrounded by people that, I don't know, that have your back and lift you up and will make incredible choices because they believe in you and they believe in the thing you're creating. Max is someone we found on the internet who we didn't know anything about, and we just knew that they were a professional wrestler, and we I decided early on that we needed somebody who could say so much with physicality, right, and with not with words. And yes, Max as a wrestler is fierce, right? Is the heel, right? And but that didn't weigh in. That didn't factor in as much as just knowing that somebody was a physical performer and could handle the physicality of it. And then when I met Max, we wrote them on every one of their social media channels, and they graciously responded and probably said, "Please stop writing me, but yes, I'll hear about your idea." Max revealed to me over a lunch that their lifelong dream had been to be a villain in a horror movie, and instantly I was like, well, then you have to be in this movie. And they said, I'm in this movie. And from that moment forward, it was just like the best. I would say it's like the best casting we've ever done. But like, I mean, really, it was just us taking a shot in the dark, and then Max saying, yes, like I see you and I want to be there. And this is now my character. And that's awesome. I mean, it's just a tribe of friends making stuff in the woods.
Well, not only that, but I mean, when you create, an evil, you have to give it. It's almost like Dungeons and Dragons. You have to give it like, how much power does this evil have? What can this person does? Is it a level 10 strength? Is it like, so when you created Dolly or Baby Girl, what was your thought process of how you wanted this evil to be ever present and unstoppable in some ways too?
Yeah, so without spoiling the film, Dolly has uh, these tiers of reactions and responses, their physical movement and their speed and their behavior relative to what they're encountering. And really those things are something Max and I worked on in pre-production to establish language, right? Like physical language, literally composure, and the way they would position their body and their hands and their movements, and then using them at different times. And those things were really a response to arrested development, aspects of a child, the way a child might have a tantrum, the way a child might be scared, the way a child might be diminutive, and all of that is again tied to Dolly's origins. And Dolly's got this set of conditioned behavior, which you get to see some of, and you get to see her response to. Well, you get to see a lot of her response to that, but you get to see Dolly cycle through the emotional and physical responses to that as they too try to navigate the hell that they've been living in.
So, when it comes to this story, especially, there's a lot of like inkling or a little bit of like backstories and different stuff too, and kind of like what was the idea of like giving each of these characters a backstory of, okay, there's a connection here but killing, there's a connection here but death, there's a connection here but blood. So like what was the idea of like kind of creating those little tidbits just to make us kind of question things?
Well, gosh, again, I got to talk about this without giving it away.
Yeah, it's a little hard there, sorry. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Like, well, let's say, Dolly as Carl, the singer of the of the Baby Boy, sings about at the end, like she's bad seed, right? And it's like, well, bad seed, like those things come from somewhere. And Dolly again has a specific reaction to specific people and specific types that's relative to the way that they have been brought up and survived. And you see that play itself out at least three different ways, like again, like these different lanes inside of the movie, right? Again, we'll speak broadly, like people can see that there's Dolly and Macy, but there's these other like characters, and ways that Dolly behaves. And again, it's experience based, condition based, reactions to these things. Yes, there's a lot of blood and gore, and but those are, yeah, I mean, those are a response to the depravity that Dolly comes from. Again, it's there. It's all hinted at. You see the clues, but it is a very twisted upbringing that they have had as well.
Now, when it comes to, as we said, the gore, the blood, and everything else too, did you start out with the deaths, or did you start out with the characters and then move to the deaths? Like, what was your thought process? Was it, like, because there's everything from, okay, we have the weapon, so the weapon can be used like this. Like, I don't want to give anything away as well, which is a little harder, but I guess if you could just kind of talk about blood and the specifics therein.
Yeah, yes, Dolly has a tool, a tool by which they carry out, or a baby blanket, right, that they carry around and use as they need to, and that is again like connected to her upbringing and the her experiences. I don't, the deaths, I have to give credit to my co-writer Brendan Weevil, who's got to be the best horror writer I've ever read. He's just the guy who sent us a blind submission years ago and said, on our company website Witchcraft, and he said we're the only people that ever wrote him back. He sent hundreds and hundreds of queries, and he sent us a script that was so good, and he's, I have to give him credit for these deaths. I mean, and the deaths were also driven by, they're metaphor. They exist. They function metaphorically. Like what Dolly is doing at the times Dolly is doing them, are responses to her Dolly, the character, trying to solve a problem. Again, without giving it away, like they are behaving the way they're behaving because they've been conditioned and they're trying to solve some shit. So again, I'm speaking around it because most people won't have seen it, but everything in this movie is deliberate, right? It's all symbiotic and it's all speaking to each other. The deaths aren't just deaths for, gory deaths to be gory or bloody to be gory. Like sometimes when a fly lands on you, you just got to go ahead and swat it.
Right.
And Dolly's got to do the same.
Can you talk a little bit about Fabian and Macy's, mindset of, not only kind of throwing her background into it, but also her abject terror, her understanding Dolly after a point as well, and then just kind of like understanding what Dolly is or how Dolly thinks too.
Yes, all this was on the page. Like, Macy as a character is just trying to navigate an insane situation. I think is what any of us would do. Is like looking for clues for how to make it through. And then trying different things out, right? Like relative to what those things are telling her about these situations. Like, oh, I heard this. Let me try that. Oh, that doesn't work. Let me try this again. Oh, let me go ahead and then use that as a weapon, right? See if I can use that to disarm my adversary. And I think that's just life generally. Of course, it's all wrapped up here in this fairy tale, more of a fable or a fable-like structure. So there's room to really lean into that because again, that's those Grimm's fairy tales or in any horror fable is like just teeming with those things anyway. So we're trying to put that into the movie. I will say, the fable-like qualities of the film revealed themselves to us after the first edit of the movie was done, and we thought, wait a minute, this film is like kind of more magical and twisted and otherworldly than I think we thought it was going to be. I mean, I think we started with something that was like very, very Grimehouse, and I say Grimehouse because we're very grimy. I know it's not really a genre. Grindhouse is a genre, but like that was where we started, and I think in time it just all these things revealed them. It was like, oh well, it's very apparent that Macy is behaving like a character would in the fairy tale version of this. So let's just embrace that and follow that, like as it tells us what it needs to be.
I want to thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm looking forward to everyone get a chance to watch this at Fantastic Fest and beyond as well. And so I hope you all had as much fun making as it is to watch. So
thank you, Derek. I really appreciate that. It's kind of you. Thank you.